On our second morning of safari, we got very excited when we spotted pug marks and our ranger confirmed that they were fresh. Within 10 minutes of entering the park, we came upon the lovely Chorbera tigress with her 8-month-old cubs. We were very lucky that she had just killed a huge male sambar deer near the road on the one route randomly assigned to us. We ended up watching all three of them for over an hour and saw very interesting behavior. We saw the male cub eating at the kill, crossing the road back and forth several times and playing with his sister. We also saw the female cub practicing stalking her mother. The cubs are naturally curious and tend to come close to the vehicles, and the closest we got to the male cub was within 5 feet. The mother mostly ignored all the commotion and stayed far from the road. We were told that the tigers usually move their kill away from the road fairly quickly, and this kind of an experience was very rare and happened maybe once in 3 months. In fact, we were told that the tigress did move her dead deer into a thicket later that day and couldn't be seen from the road that evening. The lighting was pretty low, but we were very lucky to get some good still pictures as well as video. The cubs at 8 months old are still quite big, though not nearly as big as their mother. We were excited to hear that many of the tigers in the park are related to Seatan charger, two tigers made famous by several National Geographic documentaries by Alphonse Roy that we had seen many times. The Chorbera tigress is actually the granddaughter of Seatan charger. The father of these cubs is called B2, and he's the dominant male in the part of the park open to tourists. He's apparently very impressive and measures almost 10 feet in length, and he's managed to stay the dominant male for a very long period of time. One impressive fact about the park rangers is that they are very familiar with the family tree of all the tigers, and they're clearly very attached to them. They were just as excited as us to see the pug marks, hear the warning calls, and to see the tigers as if they were seeing it for the first time as well. Here you can see the sambar deer, and the male cub is actually feasting at the sambar. You can see his ears peeking from behind the dead sambar. We learned quite a bit about tigers and their ecosystem on this trip. The rangers explained that usually when the tigers are on the move, warning calls can be heard, and because of this and the fact that the tigers also like to use the roads available to the vehicles in the park, you actually have a decent chance of seeing them. We learned that the first ones that usually sense the tiger's presence are the chital deer, since they have the best sense of smell. The sambar can also smell the tiger at a distance, and the langurs are often perched on top of the trees, and they'll be the first to sight the tiger. So all of these animals work together in an attempt to thwart the tiger from getting them. And the rangers kind of called a tiger moving through the jungle a multiple alarm fire because of all the commotion that a tiger can cause. Interestingly, a leopard, who also hunts some of these animals, usually just receives a single alarm call, and this is because they're much more elusive and probably not as much of a threat, so a leopard is more of like a single alarm fire. In the morning, we heard no alarm calls since the tigers were at rest and they had already made a kill. In the evening, it was extremely exciting because we started hearing many warning calls, and they kept coming closer and closer until we eventually spotted a fleeting glimpse of an adolescent male moving through the jungle. And even though this was a very short glimpse, just to be able to follow the warning calls and see him was just great. While we were watching the tigers, it was hard not to think about the recent news that there were no tigers left in Sariska, one of the Project Tiger reserves in India, due to extensive poaching. Also, that there were similar reports from other parks such as Ranthambore acknowledging that the population of the tiger in the wild was not as high as the official numbers claim. Poaching has always been a major threat to the tiger's survival due to the high demand for tiger bones and skin in certain Asian cultures. Loss of habitat has also increased the number of tiger-human conflicts, resulting in revenge killing. After seeing the amazing things at Bandhavgarh, including the tiger, we felt compelled to try to document our visit to show people what a typical person might see, to try to encourage them to also visit and maybe try to help the tiger and to do their part. We felt very privileged to be able to see the tigers in their natural setting, and it was just no comparison to seeing them in a captive setting like a zoo, and we really realized how important it is to be able to preserve the tiger in the wild. The park and the surrounding villages were extremely clean, and we didn't spot any trash, and this was very different from the typical city experience that we were used to in India, and we were also blown away by how well the park was maintained. There was clearly a sense of pride and ownership among the rangers and the villagers, the hotel staff, and this was very nice to see. And we were told that instances of poaching were also very uncommon compared to other parks, and this is due to a very effective around-the-clock patrolling system. Here's a nice panoramic view of the Chorbera tigress and the two cubs, and you can see how they blend into the jungle, and it's beautiful to see the whole family scene. The Chorbera female tigress is just so majestic. Here's the male cub. You can see he has a slightly rounder face, and we got to see him very close right after his meal with the sambar. You can see a little bit of blood on his whiskers looking through the bamboo shoots, and we were just very surprised to be able to see them so close and to see this kind of behavior with them wrestling and playing with one another and eating. And here he was sort of snarling a little bit, and that was interesting. Here you can see the male looking at us with the female cub in the background. The female cub was noticeably smaller than the male. Even at 8 months you can see how the male cub grows a lot quicker and bigger. The female on the road as she was walking by our vehicle, and we were just very fortunate to be able to see them for this long as a once-in-a-lifetime experience.